this is Chef Liron from the Mirage JCC. Our holiday that's coming up is Shavuot, and for Shavuot, it is customary to make cheesecakes or anything with dairy. So we're gonna do a few things. One thing here is an easy thing to make with your kids and family, and it is a layered tea cookie cake. So we're gonna have the tea cookies and we're gonna make a cream, and then we're gonna glaze it with some ganache on top. Now I'm gonna be mixing it by hand, but if you have an electric mixer, you can go ahead and use that, but it's a fun way to get the kids a little active and get the mixing and going. So what we're gonna do, I have some cream cheese that I have already softened in the microwave, and we're gonna add the sugar to the cream cheese. I'm gonna mix that together. And the sugar is also gonna help soften the cream cheese up a little bit and get it a good consistency without any clumps. If you see that you still have some chunks of cream cheese, just go ahead and microwave it for a few more seconds. And when I was microwaving it, I only did it about 30 seconds at a time. You don't wanna overheat it. So now that the cream cheese is nice and soft, and I have just a few chunks, but that's okay. I'm gonna set that aside and I'm gonna start whipping my heavy cream. Now, the secret with a heavy cream, especially when you're whipping by hand, is that both the cream and the bowl should be cold. So I have heavy cream, and then I'm adding to the heavy cream some instant pudding. I'm gonna add that in, and I'm gonna mix that together. I'm just gonna whisk that until it gets to be thick, a little bit, just a little bit thicker, and then I'm gonna add the cream cheese to it. So whisking it by hand is gonna take probably a few minutes, probably like 5 minutes or so, but you can mix it up, whip it up on your own, or you can let your kids take turns, each one until they get tired. And also for the heavy cream, when you're whipping it, you want it to be in a larger bowl, especially if you're doing it by hand, because it's gonna start spraying around. So I'm just gonna keep on mixing it until it gets thick. Okay, so that took me about 5 minutes, and now this has gotten thicker. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put in the cream cheese mixture, and I'm gonna whisk it up a little longer, just so it gets nice and thick. First, make sure it all gets mixed together. Just wanna scrape the sides a little bit. And now our mixture is getting nice and thick. When it has the cream cheese in it, it's a little harder to whisk because it's so thick. So the parents, you're probably gonna have to do it yourself if this isn't in a mixer. Okay, that's perfect. And we're gonna set this aside for just a minute. Now, I'm gonna be setting this in an 8x6 pan, and I've already made the mixture that I am going to soak the tea cookies in. So to make this, I used some instant coffee and a little bit of boiling water just to melt the instant coffee, and then milk. If you don't wanna have the coffee, go ahead and use some vanilla extract. That's fine too, it comes out delicious. Now for the bottom layer, because the pan is a little thinner, narrower there, I've cut 3 of the tea cookies, just a little bit, so that they'll fit. And you can check that out before you start dipping them, or you can cut it after you've dipped. Later on, we're gonna have room for a little more on the end, so I've cut some of them in half already. so that we'll be able to add some in the end. You don't have to add that. You can just leave it without the tea cookies at the end, whatever you prefer. So each tea cookie I'm gonna just dip for just a few seconds. And I'm gonna place them inside. Nope, slippery. Now those are the ones that I cut a little bit so that they fit perfectly on the bottom. Now we're covering completely the bottom. Now once I have the bottom, I'm gonna put a layer of this cheese cream. I'm gonna do about 3 scoops. We're gonna have 3 layers of the cookies and 3 layers of this filling, the cream filling. So we just want it to be about even. I'm gonna put a little bit more. Just turn the pan around just so you can get it evenly spread around. Okay, and then we're gonna do the next layer of the cookies. Now, it's not completely flat, the cream filling. When I'm putting the cookies down, I'm just pressing them down lightly so that they sit in it fully, and that kind of evens out the filling. Now, you can also make this in a larger pan. I would just do a double recipe. That's perfectly fine. These cakes usually disappear very quickly. And I'm gonna use these 2 halves at the end. And if something doesn't fit completely for some reason, you can just break off an end, just make it fit. Okay, now's our second layer. Again, I'm gonna do those 3 scoops that I used before. All right, and now the last batch of the cookies. You can make this and serve it right away the next day or a few hours later, or you can keep it in the freezer for a while, use it about a week later. It sits perfectly well. Putting the last batch of this cream filling. I get it all in there. We're gonna spread it around. And then we're gonna put it in the freezer for 2 hours to let it set a little bit before we can put the ganache on top. Right, and it doesn't have to be perfect on top. We are gonna put the ganache. It's gonna cover most of the bumps. Okay, this is ready to go in the freezer. Okay, so our cake has been in the freezer for about 2 hours. Now for the ganache, I have here chocolate chips and heavy cream, and I put it in the microwave just for about 30 seconds at a time, just until we can get it melted. And I'm going to gently stir it until it's all melted and nice and cohesive. We're just gonna stir it gently. You're gonna see it start getting darker from the center, coming out until all the cream is mixed in with the melted chocolate. Once we have this melted and all mixed together, we're gonna spread it over the cake, and then you can either put in the refrigerator overnight before serving, or put it in the freezer for a few more hours, or keep it in the freezer for a few days. And then just let it defrost for a little bit before you serve it. Okay, so this is nice and mixed all together. I'm just scraping the sides and the bottom to make sure I got everything. Okay, we're gonna pour it on top. I'm just gonna use this spatula to spread it. Okay. And again, you're just gonna need to move and turn your cake. You want to get all the edges. You want to do it comfortably. So instead of you turning, just move the dish around. Okay, we're going to make sure it gets to all the corners. This isn't a very thick layer. So if you like it more, you can just do a little more ganache, however you like it. And we're done. You can smooth it out a little bit, or you can leave it like that. Enjoy.